Hey, you want to see a dead body? Hey everybody, Greco Fabulous here, and today I want to share with you my very first time grading a comic book. Now, leading into this year's Boston Comic Con, I specifically went there with one book in mind that I wanted to get graded. And now, I know we've all heard of CGC, they're at the top of the mountain when it comes to comic book grading companies, but I wanted to give the newcomer on the block a chance. So I went to the CBCS booth. Now, don't ask me what that stands for, but what I do know is that they're cheaper and quicker. So after about 3 weeks of waiting, I got this in the mail. Now, I already cheated and opened it up, as you can see, but this was packed really nicely. It came in this solid cardboard box, and then you can see there's a layer of bubble wrap, which enclosed another cardboard box right here with the CBCS logo. So, it's like a box in a box and wrapped up in the Jello pudding. Obviously that impression was spot on, so I don't need to tell you who that was. But inside this box, you got some advertisements for like, hey, you graded this comic, you need help selling it? I don't. I'm no stranger to eBay, so I don't need no man telling me how to sell my comic books. But if you got some of the bigger books on there, they want to let you know there's some options for you. And then they just give you like an invoice and an original copy of... Well, you know what? I probably shouldn't have shown you that real quick because you fools are probably going to pause this video, get my address, steal my identity, ruin my life, and get me pregnant. So I'm going to blur that out. But anyways, you get your original invoice, and then you got layer upon layer of cardboard, which you could probably reuse if you want to ship some stuff later on. And then last but not least, you get the book in question. This was a modern book that I know is already wildly popular. I was lucky enough to get it dropped in my lap by a friend of mine who gave me his collection for free. And there's a movie coming out soon, which is probably going to make this thing blow up even more. To my eye, it looked like it was a really good condition book. And being a modern book, I knew that the prices weren't going to be so high. So before I show it to you, I just want to say that I ended up paying $43 total to get this graded. Now, admittedly, I was kind of taken aback by that price because initially I didn't think it was going to be that bad. So the upfront pricing for a modern book up to like a $250 insured value was $15, which I think compared to CGC is, only a few bucks difference. But then they told me that their current turnaround time was going to be like 3 months, which you might think is a lot, but, CGC's was like 6. So they had this option for a fast pass. So for $8 more, they would pretty much guarantee that they would cut that time in half. And she actually said that it would take 3 to 4 weeks instead. So I thought that the time savings was worth the extra $8. What I was really caught off guard with was the $20 shipping charge. Wasn't expecting that at all. I mean, they ended up shipping it like FedEx ground. So it's not like... It didn't take long to get here because it came from Florida to Boston or Massachusetts. But I would think for that kind of price, you would want something priority or like 2-day shipping. It only took like 3 or 4. So like I said, it wasn't that crazy of a wait, but $20. I mean, I know it's insurance and I don't really deal with FedEx, so I don't know how their rates compare to like the USPS, but it's only like a 2 to 3 pound package. So I can't imagine that. It seems pretty inflated to me. But anyways, gripes aside, this book is definitely going to fetch me more than $43 whenever I decide to sell it. And the grade that I got, I am super happy with. And it's actually better than I was expecting. And that is New Mutants number 98, the first appearance of Deadpool. And as you can see right up here, you got a 9.4, which right now on eBay from CBCS, and I don't know if like comparatively CGCs go for more since these guys are newer, but it's going for like $450 to upwards of $500 right now. So definitely worth the investment I did in, especially since I'm $0 into it as far as acquiring the comic book itself. But this right here is in a hard plastic case, like most graded books, and it has this thin layer of plastic, which I'm going to keep it in. I don't know. Again, this is the first book that I've ever graded, so I don't know if that's like the norm, if people keep it in these things, or if it's something that you take it out of there and do what you wish. But since I do plan on selling it eventually, I'm going to keep it in here just so it's just as pristine as ever. And then just going across here, you got your 9.4 white. It says, the publisher Marvel came out in February 1991. New Mutants 98 at the top. Cover art and story by the greatest person ever to live on the face of the earth, Rob Liefeld. Story by Fabian Nicieza. Niceza? I don't know. It's not Rob Liefeld, so who cares? And it tells you right here, like, why is this a key issue? First appearance of Deadpool, Wade Wilson, Gideon and Domino, Vanessa Carlyle, formerly Copycat, Richter quits the New Mutants. So a lot going on in this. And on the back here, you actually see the back of the book. It says story title, the beginning of the end, Bart Simpson poster on wall in the story. So apparently that's a big deal. And it just gives a barcode and a bunch of the contact info for CBCS. So this is, exactly what I was expecting as far as what it would come packaged with. I was really happy with CBCS in the way that they kept in contact with me throughout this whole ordeal. Because initially when I submitted the comic book, I was kind of like caught off guard a little bit because, well, first the lady had this like Russian accent, so I was like, oh great, my mind starts wandering to all those like mobster movies. It was like, yes, give me a comic book, okay? I take good care of it. It's worth lots of money, and I promise I ship it back to you 3 to 4 weeks. So again, a little bit of profiling there, but it happens, right? Because then my uncles were like, did you even like take a picture of the book? Who's to say that they don't just like swap it on you, So got a little nervous after that, but literally within a few days of submitting it, I got an email like, hey, we got your book, here's like your tracking info, and then if you create an account on their site, you can monitor the progress of it. So it took like a couple weeks before it actually got to the grading stage, and then after grading it gets into like the encapsulating and quality control, and then finally shipping. But what's cool is that after they grade it, it shows you what their grading is, and it also includes grader notes, so they can tell you exactly why they came to that conclusion that, hey, this book is a 9.4. And it's actually kind of interesting that based on their grader notes, I was actually expecting a lower grade because it had like 4 separate things that they noticed. They're like, some of the edges are blunt, and there's a little bit of like a color smudge here, and blah blah blah. So it just seemed like, again, I'm no comic grader, but if it's such a nitpicky thing, they had like 4 dings on me, but apparently it was only enough to knock off 0.6 on the scale. So again, I'm super thrilled about that because this is gonna get me like at least 100 junior bacon cheeseburgers, or if I get fancy, a spicy chicken sandwich. So anyways, guys, I highly recommend CBCS. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about CGC, but again, for my money, they seem to be a little more expensive, and their turnaround time is a lot slower at the moment. Again, if CBCS becomes... Why do I keep saying again like I'm reiterating the point? It's the first time I've said something. Well, at least I'm not just stuttering and saying but. Anyways, their turnaround time seems to be much less, but obviously if they get more popular, that's going to change. So for now, they were the right choice for me. They seem to have done a great job, and I'm very happy. And just as a comparison point, my uncle got dropped off 2 Silver Age Flash books to get graded. I think one was the first appearance of Captain Boomerang, and the other one was the first like crossover with Silver Age Flash and Golden Age Flash, which should be a biggie depending on the grade. And they're still saying like it's gonna take till like the end of October, and he did pay for like expedited grading, which yeah cuts their turnaround time in half, but their current turnaround time was like 6 months. So, anyways, really cool to have this. And if you're interested in this book and you want to pay top dollar, check out Greco Fabulous on eBay when the movie drops. Thanks, guys.